Right. Hi, everybody. Those of you that missed the Zoom, we went over comparing bones, joints, and muscles. Quick introduction. Bones contain both living and non living materials. The living part of the bone consists of bone cells surrounded by hard, non living materials such as minerals, calcium, and phosphorus. Canals in the bone tissue contain blood vessels and nerves. Together with the muscular system, bones make movement possible. The bones are connected at junction called joints. So when a bone meets, there's a joint, and some move in certain directions, some can move in other directions, some can move in many directions, depends on the kind of the joint. And what makes them move is when muscles contract in groups and the opposite group relaxes, allowing that to happen. The bones themselves are alive. They grow with you, they heal and repair when damaged. The living part of the bone that actually makes that possible are literally bone cells. So they have cytoplasm, a nucleus. They need nutrients, they need oxygen to be alive, just like every other living cell. So to get that, they have little canals in the bone tissue that contain blood vessels and nerves to send impulses, receive messages. The non living part of the cell, that's minerals, calcium, that's what makes bones hard, that gives you structure and support and protects your other organs. The muscle tissue that contracts and helps you move, that's skeletal muscle. Muscle tissue you don't have any control over, you've got smooth muscle lining the digestive tract and some blood vessels. That's how you get a pulse. Excuse me. And then the third type is cardiac, which is only found in the heart. And again, you don't have voluntary control over that. You don't have to think about making your heart beat. Probably a good thing. So, the main problems you're going to be looking at here are the internal structure of a bone, how do the various joints move, and the similarities and differences among the types of muscle tissue. The in pre-lab investigation, if you read back up here these first couple paragraphs, you'll answer questions 1A, 1B, 2, and then for question 3, you're going to scroll down here to this table here, part B, and these are the types of extension. When you bend your arm like this, that's called flexion. You're not flexing your muscles, we're talking about the angle here of the bone. And then when you extend, it goes out like that. So you can do the same thing with your knee or with your finger. It flexes and extends. But if you try to make your finger go side to side or rotate, just twist your finger, it doesn't work. So it can't do this side to side movement away from the middle of the body toward the middle of the body, and it cannot rotate. Your finger can just flex and extend, just like your knee. Then, looking back up here to the pre-lab, what would you expect the striations cardiac muscle to look like under a microscope? Just it's a prediction, and then where you would find these types of muscle. If you're struggling with the muscle tissue or trying to answer those questions, you can always look in your book right here on page 926, types of muscle. So this is a little section on the muscular system. And there are the three types of muscle. Skeletal muscle have these striations or bands. Like that. So as the muscle relaxes and stretches out, the spaces in between the bands would get farther apart. And when it contracts and pulls in, the bands will get closer together. Smooth muscle, no striations. Skeletal muscle has striations, and there's multiple nuclei in each cell. And then cardiac muscle, you can see the bands or striations here, but there's only one nucleus per cell. And both of these are involuntary, smooth and cardiac, and this one is voluntary. You can raise your hand, you can get up and walk outside. That's all controlled by your nervous system and your brain consciously. So the first part, we're looking at bone tissue, and it says to switch to high power objective. here. So this picture here, when we zoom in, these little holes, they're called Haverson canals right here. And then you can't see the blood vessels because this is dead tissue and it's been sawed with like a deli slicer almost. Think of like that. And then these little dots there and there and there, all these little dots along these rings, those are individual cells like you see here. So these rings growing out around the blood vessels, you can see these little dots in the rings around those as well. Those are living cells that allow you to grow and repair and heal your bones. So take this picture, insert it here, and make sure you label the osteocytes and the Haverson canals in the picture and write down the magnification of 400x. Then the second part, this part you get to kind of move around a little bit. You're going to try to do these different movements with each joint. So not just your arm here, flex and extend, but try to flex and extend your head. So that's just tilting your head with your neck side down and forward and then side to side. You can do this one, you can do this one, and obviously you can rotate your neck. So you would put pluses here, 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 and here. So all the way across pluses. Then do that with your shoulder, which is where your arm attaches, not shrugging your shoulders, but where your arm attaches to your body, moving that joint. Then with your elbow, you'll notice with your elbow, you can flex it up, you can extend it straight out, but if you try to go side to side or actually try to rotate your elbow, your arm rotates a little bit, but that's the other bone, not the actual elbow joint rotating. So you'd only get pluses here and here in the first two boxes and then minuses for the other three. Try the other joints and see what you come up with. And then the third part with the muscles for here, magnification, 400x across the top. Make sure you fill that in. And then I took pictures with the microscope I brought home. Skeletal muscle is going to look like that. That picture I just could not get in focus with the devices I brought home with me. But that you can post there. And you don't have to label anything, just that one's skeletal. And then for smooth muscle, whoops, that's cardiac. Cardiac would go right here on this side. And then smooth muscle right here in the middle. So you know both smooth and cardiac have they only have one nucleus per cell, and skeletal muscle, you can see there's a bunch of nuclei in each cell. Then all you're going to do is these 8 questions here, and you do not have to do going further. So these ones, again, right from that, or you can use your textbook for reading. Figure out why knee injuries are such a problem with athletes, especially for the way your knee works. Think of how many ways you can bend your knee. Can you do all these different movements with your knee, or can it only do flex and extend? With these ones, if you can flex something, you can extend it because a joint goes both ways. But then knees don't go side to side. Knees don't rotate. If you ever watch any of those horrific videos on YouTube when people get their knees blown out in a football game, you'll know knees do not rotate or bend sideways. Usually turns out poorly for them. All right, so hopefully if you have, you should be able to fill the rest of this out now, thinking about how your bones, joints, and muscles work together, and message me with any other questions you have. Have a wonderful day.